Well, hey, y'all, welcome back to the Faith Based Birthing Podcast. I'm your host, Lori, and today we have our resident expert with pelvic floor therapy, Dr. Angela Turno. How are you doing? I'm so excited that you're back.
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, today, what we're going to talk about is workout, right? So, I think women are getting a lot of mixed messages from their provider in what they should do working out. And so help us from a physical therapy standpoint, from a pelvic floor standpoint, talking about being active in pregnancy. What are some considerations we should actually have in mind on our pregnancy journey with working out?
Yeah, so there's a lot of bad information out there,
I agree.
outdated
I
in
agree
general.
100%.
Okay, so one, it's good to stay active in pregnancy, and that's going to change depending on how you feel. But it doesn't have to be this big black box of confusion of like, what is safe and what can I do? And how, like, it doesn't have to be hard. But in general, staying active, staying strong, that not only supports you to feel good in pregnancy, it also supports your baby through epigenetics. Your baby will be healthier when you are healthier. And it also helps you have an easier labor because you're more active. So that way your body is more mobile. You're not in and postpartum. So there's a saying in physical therapy, the stronger you are going in, the stronger you are coming out. And that is, specific for like a surgery, like if you were to have a knee surgery or something, but it also applies to childbirth. So if you are stronger going in, you're going to be stronger coming out postpartum. And that means you're going to have less back pain. You're going to be stronger to move because you have to be active postpartum, carrying the car seat and the baby and bending and lifting. Like you were going to be doing those things, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so the stronger you are in pregnancy, the more active and confident you are with moving and just like you're going to feel better, you're going to be happier. And so that's also going to help you in childbirth and labor or and postpartum. So in terms of what is safe for working out in pregnancy, I think that's a big question that people have, and it doesn't need to be super confusing. So if you're already working out, let's say you're already like going into your pregnancy, you were
Yeah.
already
I'm so
active.
glad you're covering this because I think this is where a lot of misinformation comes in, right? From providers. So I'm so glad you're going into this. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to let you continue, but thank you for going into this.
Yeah, I'm going to cover maybe two different like realms, right? So if you're already fit, we'll say, I don't know, like you're already working out, you're already exercising, maybe before pregnancy or maybe like early in your pregnancy, like you're already kind of on your fitness journey or you're already an exerciser, just keep doing that. Just keep doing the things, okay? And then modify as you need, but that doesn't mean you need to like completely change out all the exercises. And so, maybe in like your second trimester, you want to stop doing exercises laying on your tummy, right? Like that's probably not a good idea to lay flat on your belly. That's also not going to be comfortable for you anymore, right? So I think the biggest thing is just to do what you feel comfortable with. Um, and then the name of the game is modification. So if you are I don't know. I'm just gonna say an exercise and then I'm gonna give some examples for how to modify. All right. Because I think that's the easiest thing to do. So let's say you're doing lunges. Can everybody understand what a lunge is? All right. So if you're doing lunges and maybe before pregnancy, you were holding on to weights and you were doing weighted lunges. And now you're pregnant and maybe you're nauseous in that first trimester. Like, don't push through it. Like, just you're nauseous. You're like, just give yourself a break. It's going to be okay. And then when you feel able, when you're less fatigued and less nauseous and your hormones have stabilized a little bit more, maybe in your second trimester, maybe you can still do lunges with weights, or maybe you need to lighten up the weights or ditch the weights, right? You can modify. make it easier. It's still going to feel challenging because now you're, carrying a different kind of weight. You have your baby weight.
Right.
So, so, so it's going to be okay. And then maybe when you're later in your second trimester, early third trimester, maybe you need to hold on to something. And that's okay too. Hold on to a door or a chair or something. All right. And then maybe later in your third trimester, you don't go down as low, like with your lunge. You just do like mini lunges. All of that is still, you're just doing what feels good for you. You don't have to follow. This is why I don't like following. Okay. This is why I don't like following a specific regimen of like a week by week pregnancy program because I see those out there on Pinterest and YouTube and other programs where they're like week 20, when you're 20 weeks pregnant, 21 weeks pregnant, like they give you this like set plan of exercises that you're supposed to do at whatever week pregnant. I don't know your fitness level. I don't know how you feel. I don't know all those things. So it's very arrogant for me to say, like, you should be able to do these things when actually that could be a bad thing for you, because you just have to notice, like, are you feeling aches and pains? Like, that's maybe not a good one for you to do. You just need to modify. And I gave you a couple examples of how to modify for a lunge. Um, but there's tons of ideas, and I talk about all of it inside my Breeze Through Pregnancy program, for different ways for how to navigate different aches or pains or how to modify exercise. Um, but that's the thing is like you just have to learn how to regress. It's called like if you have an exercise, you're just going to make it easier, but it's actually not easier because it's still hard because you're pregnant.
Right. So you're exchanging one weight for another weight, right? Like, and your body is
Right.
positioned differently as well. And you have, your muscles acting differently, right?
Yeah.
Because they're more elastic and
Hey,
everything's moving differently.
hormones. Hormones.
Everything matters in this. And, going with the week by week thing that we were just talking about, as far as like a strict regimented program. And I was given one of those, just so we're clear. I was given do it this way, this way, this way, this way. And I was like, you are on crack. I can't do things like that right now. Um, but like it matters that you understand that all of our hormones operate differently. We're all not going to have the same levels of hormones going in our body during the same week at the same time. Like things look different. And not only just because our bodies are reacting differently, you're eating something different than I'm eating. Angela's eating something different than we're all eating. Like it matters on a grand scale what we're putting into our body. And don't get me wrong, I am not crunchy. I tell everybody like I'm stale, right? Like chewy, my bag got left open or something. But like it matters. It matters that we know what we're putting into our body. It matters that we understand the elements around us and what's going in or on our body and what we're breathing in. And all that matters as well with how our hormones are functioning inside of a pregnancy and just in normal life. So we're all going to be reacting differently at these different times. So to say, hey, you should be able to do this at week 21 when I'm carrying higher and you're carrying lower and you have more, elastin in your body than I do. Like, I mean, it's just crazy to think that anything is going to be cookie cutter for any woman in a pregnancy and birth and postpartum scenario. So sorry, soapbox for me,
Yeah,
but
I mean, the other thing is just to remember that, bigger is not better. And in terms of like how much, just in general, I think in general, bigger is not better. But if we're talking about, movement, it's like you don't have to do the big, deep squats for it to be effective, like just do what feels good for you. Bigger is not better. The name of the game in pregnancy is balancing your pelvis specifically, right? Because if you, when you have all of the hormones that you just talked about, right? And they're all, it doesn't matter. You don't have to know which one is higher or lower or whatever. Like, you don't need to get tested for that. But like, you just have to respect that there are
yeah,
hormones at play. And and that's going to make you shifty. and that's going to make you vulnerable. And your exercise routine or movement and being active should not make you hurt. And if you're exercising to the point of like later in the day or the next day where your body hurts, well, was that really helpful? Right? To do one workout and then the next day not be able to move. So it's not helpful
No,
because if
it's
you're
not.
doing this like this really rigid up and down, nobody can see me right now, but I'm throwing my hand up and down and up and down, right? So versus this gradual feeling good, get feeling strong throughout the day, right? I like to call it being farmer strong, where day in and day out you can keep showing up. and
Yeah.
and uh and so just using the supports that you need, recognizing that small movements can make a big difference, making sure that you are, I like to make sure that I do think it's helpful in pregnancy to have 2 feet on the ground when you're exercising. Um, I see some yoga poses, pregnancy yoga poses, where you're on one leg. Okay, that's very difficult to control. You're more shifty, so it's probably more likely that you're going to feel sciatica pain the next day or some kind of SI joint, pubic bone dysfunction problem. So try to just keep your feet planted on the ground. They could be staggered. They don't have to be the same, but like keep them on the ground. And and so that'd be, one of the big things. And then, oh, the other thing is probably do things where you're in control. Meaning, don't take a heavy weight and think that you're going to throw it up and down. Let's just not do that. Okay. Because you're more shifty. And so it's really hard to control. And it's really hard to identify when you're not in control if you're doing things that are very fast until later you feel that you maybe were not in control and you have some kind of ache or pain happening. Um, does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. Yes, I get it. And I hope that our listeners are understanding that and it's making sense to them because what I want you guys to understand is I think, which is why faith-based birthing came about in the first place, right? Is I think the birthing world, right, and the birth worker world has been taken over by a lot of ideas that aren't necessarily helpful and forward launching, I'll say, for women in this space. And some things, in my opinion, actually do more damage than good when we are trying to fit things into a regimented pattern or trying to say that all women, and it's just like if you walk into, a hospital and they say, okay, well, let's get you into the delivery room and, you have to be ready to push within this many hours or by this many centimeters or whatever, right? Like my first birth, they said, oh, you're 10 centimeters, so it's time to push. It wasn't time to push. My baby was still too high. I didn't know that for my first birth. Like all these things matter. We can't put cookie cutter ideas onto things or it's going to make things worse. And so, that's where faith-based birthing was even born out of, because I want you to understand that it's you. It's you with the Father. It's your birth. You get to walk this journey. You get to figure out how your body moves, what your body needs. And that's what matters because the best version of you is going to be the best for your family. And that's what we're trying to do here. So, tell me, how can they find you? And I know you have something else for them today, and it's a quiz, right, to look at their bodies. So what can they do to take a step forward in this today?
Sure. Yeah. So you're going to link it, but it's actionmotherhood.com/quiz. And so you take the quiz and it will put together your plan. It will put together step by step what you need to do to help support your body with exercise at whatever phase you are. So if you're pregnant listening to this, it will put together your plan of like a step by step what I'm not going to tell you exactly what exercises to do because again, I don't know. Right? I mean, I know good exercises, but it helps you understand your body. That's what this quiz does. It helps you understand your body. You put in like what problems you're dealing with, and it will tell you what you need to do. So it's a really great starting point for people to move forward, whether you already are an exerciser or you're just starting out. And even if you're not an exerciser in pregnancy or before pregnancy, you still can be. You still can move
I
your
mean,
body.
that's a great point. Like, you don't have to, and I think a lot of women get this misinformation, right? If you weren't exercising, and I was told this, if you weren't exercising before you got pregnant, don't start now because it's only going to be worse on you. And if you were exercising, then, you can just continue, just lighten it up a little bit. And so I think these staple answers have just given women confusion, over the years. But always. I don't care if you weren't exercising beforehand, walk. At least walk. Like
Yeah.
that's going to help you build some stamina, and I don't care what weight you are, what physical activity level you're used to, just walk. That will help you so much. Angela, am I right on that or am I off on that?
No, you're right. I mean, just
See, I have a
whether
doctor
you,
backing me up, just so you know.
yeah, I mean, just moving your body, unless you have, some like placenta previa or you have some like condition where you need to be on pelvic rest. I mean, even then, there are some things that you can do. You don't just have to lay there like a blob. You can
Right.
still do some breathing or some gentle movement. Um, but, unless you've been told that like
Right.
you are at risk of early premature labor, and told not to, you've been put on bed rest, you should move your body in some degree, in some kind of whatever feels good for you. But those blanket statements, that's what gets people in trouble because you tell people on either spectrum to not move, which is like, what? And then they're going to have a baby and then they're going to have to do all the things and then they're going to get hurt. Okay. So that's cool. Or then you tell somebody that maybe was like a marathon runner, a CrossFitter, super elite person, just keep doing what you're doing. That's maybe not the best decision either, right? So the extremes are what gets people in trouble. And you have to know it's not enough to just say, listen to your body, because what am I listening for though? Like, what am I like, like, if you don't know what you're listening for, and you don't have some kind of parameters around that, then you might not know. Like, you might not know.
Yeah,
You
and I
think
will
you're doing
say that's one of the things that I loved. Like, I remember being on the phone with you at one point, and being like, "I don't even feel what you're telling me to do," and you were like, "No, just look at this and feel this," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I see now." And so that's one of the things that I love, that you actually help your clients understand their body. It's not just a, "Hey, do this." It's no, let's understand what's going on with your body and get you used to doing that. So that it is that subconscious repetitive motion that you can, not even have to think through. But anyway, all right. So I will link everything for Dr. Angela below, and you can go and take that quiz and figure out what your needs are for your body. And she also has a free Facebook group that you can join. I will link it below as well. We have the Faith-Based Birthing Facebook group, which you can come to as well, and you'll see her in there too, because she is one of our contributing experts. So if you have questions, again, please put your questions below. We would love to be able to answer your questions, and we're excited to keep sharing with you. And let us know how this is maybe restructuring or shifting some of your thought patterns a little bit. Because I know for me, when I was first introduced to pelvic floor therapy, and, because I didn't want my bladder to fall out, but anyway, like, to look at, oh, okay, this was my thought before, and now this is my new thought pattern, and I'm growing, and this looks different for me. That matters to understand where you were and where you are and where you get to go and your growth pattern there. So, if you guys have any questions, please post them below. Dr. Angela, thank you so much for joining us again today, and we will see you again soon. And I know that you also have a challenge coming up. Is that correct? Where people can actually come and be part of an event that you're hosting? Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In January, yes, I'll be doing the Strong Mom Boot Camp. So if you are inside the Facebook group, then I'll be posting all of the information there. But also if you do the quiz, you'll be on my email list. And so I'll be sharing information there as well. So either way, you can join, however you're in my world. But I'll be doing it again in January. So the Strong Mom Boot Camp, it's been incredibly successful for moms to just see results and have really good aha moments for foreseen results with like how they're feeling good with their pelvic floor in pregnancy and postpartum.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I will put all the links down below. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you again for joining the Faith-Based Birthing Podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. And again, check out our YouTube channel, our Facebook groups, our books, our courses, anything that you need to help you get through. And we have a ton of free resources. So we will see you next week. I love you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.